Excellent, thank you. Okay, it's 7 o'clock and I'm going to call the regular council meeting of Tuesday, January 7th, 2025 to order. We'd like to take this opportunity to acknowledge the traditional territories of the Indigenous peoples of the Treaty 7 territory and the Otay-Pimisiwa Métis Government District 4. We respect the histories, languages, and cultures of First Nations, Métis, Inuit, and all First Peoples of Canada whose presence continues to enrich our community. Okay, does anybody have any changes or additions to the agenda? If not, can I get a motion?
Sure.
Go ahead.
I'll make the motion that the agenda be accepted as prepared.
Thank you. And just to note, Councillor Knight sends his regrets. He won't be attending tonight, and Deputy Mayor Fox is online. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Item 3.1, December 17th, 2024 regular council meeting. Are there any edits to the minutes? Okay, if there's no edits, can I get a motion?
Sure.
Go ahead. Okay, all in favor? Aye. Motion carried. We have delegations tonight. Item 4.1, the Crossfield Municipal Library update. Chairperson Joe Tennant. Come on up.
I brought my phone with me again.
Well, you guys can come on up too if there's, that'd be great.
So first of all, thank you for putting us on the agenda, letting us speak to some of the highlights of our presentation. So I brought with me Jennifer, who is the library manager, Cheryl Lynn, who is vice, Brenda, who's treasurer, myself as chair. And so again, we're proud to say that this is the third year in a row. We're not asking for an increase. So I think that's commendable.
Thank you.
We'll start out with that highlight. So our income has increased significantly through fundraisers, and they include 50/50 high tea, room rentals for all kinds of events. That's really taken off. So that's really good. We've increased our visibility again in the community. Most of the library board was there for the Pete Night rodeo breakfast. So that was really nice, a good way to increase our visibility and support other community events. And that, I think that's really important. Something very new, right hot off the press, we feel we've increased accessibility for everybody by removing the overdue fees. That's something other libraries are doing as well. And we feel that given the economy, if somebody has to decide between, $20 for late fees or groceries, we still want them to come into the library. So that I think is quite a step forward as well. We've increased our programs and participation. And then while we are advertising for more board members on both the library board and the Anne Grover, we're striving to be two fully independent boards, despite our common interest. I think that's a good way to go. Then there's no conflict of interest. So that's why we're advertising there. And that'll also allow us to grow our impact into the community. For the Anne Grover, they'll be able to do even more fundraisers. So I think that's good as well. This year, we've put an MOU in place in between Anne Grover and the library. So I think that's huge. We've updated our policies for the library, submitted those updated policies, or pardon me, bylaws for the Anne Grover Library Society. And last but certainly not least, I am going to let Jennifer speak to our new logo.
Oh, we were so pleased to be able to hire out locally for that. Chelsea DeVault has helped design on the project, and we are so happy about how she has incorporated our vision about inclusion and books, and also all the other things that libraries are nowadays. So, and the color, we're super thrilled to bring it into 2025.
Great, thank you.
Yes, we thought it needed a refresh, and we ran through many different fonts to see how it looked lengthwise and on the corner and different colors, and because sometimes it goes out in black and white and everything as well. So that was something new as well. So other than that, I'm sure that you've all read through the presentation, and if you have any questions, we're here to answer.
I would mention I have another, an updated projection. This is my first attempt on my own and I left out a few things, so I do have updated copies for you.
For the 2024 year end.
Oh, for the budget
Yes.
No,
Well,
year end.
or
Year
for
end,
just the
yeah.
year end? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, great. If you just want to leave them with Lindsay, that'd be perfect. Thank you. All right, questions for the library board?
It's exciting to see that so many different things happen all at once for you guys. It sounds like things are moving forward.
Yeah, we've had a real surge this year in trying to get everything caught up. Kind of over time, as we all know, things kind of slide and you can work with what you've got. And then you take a fresh look at it and you realize that things need to be brought back up. And so we've been working hard on that. We have some more projects upcoming, so yeah.
Great. Anyone else? Counselor Fox, anything from you?
Thank you, Mayor Harris. I don't have any questions, but I would just like to offer my congratulations on the job that you are all doing and making our library a good success for Crossfield. And it's nice to see it growing as our community grows.
Thank you. No questions from me. Like I said in the hallway, excellent presentation. So kudos to who built it.
Jennifer?
So fantastic. Gave us all the right information and I appreciate that. The logo is great. I like how you guys took into thought, the different styles that you'd have to use it for and applications that you'd have to use it for. It's nice and simple, but it looks meaningful. And the other thing is, I'd like to say is libraries aren't libraries anymore. Not just libraries anymore. They're a community hub with lots of programming and other things to go to. So you guys have been doing such a great job. Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
And I just asked, is there anything we could have added to the presentation?
From my standpoint, nothing that I could see. Anyone else? We're
Good
good.
to know. Great. Well,
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll keep up then. Thank you.
You want to say about?
Is our new board member on? the
You are
agenda?
on the agenda,
Okay, yeah.
but it's nice to have a face to the name. Okay, item 4.1, can I get a motion? Go ahead. All in favor? Motion carried. Do we have anybody here from the handy bus? Here we are. So item 4.2, Rocky View Regional Handy Bus Society update. Come on up, you're front and center.
Don't tell anybody what wrong.
You were just in time.
Well, I put the wrong building.
Oh, you were at the town office, yes.
Apologies for not being. Do you have my presentation already queued up or should I do? But-
If you want to do that, here, you'll just look at it.
Actually, one, yeah.
And
Oh, I see.
council does have a copy of it.
Okay. Thank you. Um. On. Wonders. It's kind of humorous how things domino. I had to drop what I was doing because someone was stranded because of a vehicle problem. So I dropped what I was doing and it took a little longer. And of course, other tasks and
It always happens when you have to be somewhere.
then it's sure a dark building. Let's see. Okay, from the beginning. Is this up? Yes.
Good. So if you could just make sure you use your mic so we can have Counselor Fox hear you.
Sure. Okay, my name is Paul Siller. I'm the Executive Director of the Rocky View Regional Handybus Society. And I would like to give council and the public of Crossfield an update of our Rocky View bus program. Oh, notepad, I just want to make sure, so I'll get my key point. When you lose or don't have an ability to drive, life is complicated. When you can't find enough people around you to help you with rides, it gets a little more complicated. When those supports and services you need are not nearby, another level. And when there's no public transportation, or when you're living in a rural area that you raised your kids on, there's another level of complication. We provide transportation for people with facing barriers to transportation so that they can stay longer in their home. That could be because of a medical condition. That could be because of an income change, some catastrophe. Could be age-related. Sometimes someone can drive down the street of a small neighborhood, but would be a hazard to everybody, including themselves, in downtown Calgary. So we operate a pre-book system, helping people make from door to door. Everything's wheelchair accessible. We have a simple eligibility, but we have a bare bones of service that, just weekends, we limit how much we have a limit of how much we can provide to a person in a month. And that helps sort everything out. But the bottom line is that we want to make it possible for a resident of Crossfield to get to the cataract surgery without a lot of muss or fuss. We want to make it possible to that they can do this without having to cause a loved one or a neighbor to lose half a day of pay or work, and with safety and dignity, I think, is where I was trying to find a moment ago. So there are many stakeholders that make this happen. One is us. Rocky View Regional Handybus Society was founded as the the Crab Society for the Handicap, Crossfield, Rocky View, Airdrie, Balzac. Some of the earliest documents I've got have Nanton Avenue in Crossfield as the original mailing address. And when once upon a time we asked, when did Crossfield start getting involved with our work? We're not certain, because it was so long ago, the records are gone. But we've grown to have roughly 18 buses. We have a volunteer board. We're a rural charity. We have an office in Airdrie. We have a satellite in Cochrane when we expanded out there. And we have transit scheduling software that's the same kind of caliber of software used by original municipality of York, St. John's, Newfoundland, and it helps us organize the trips. Even though we don't have the volume of trips in a day, we've got over 1,200 people registered, some using us weekly, some using us monthly, some using us annually. Another group of stakeholders is the municipalities such as Crossfield. Every municipality is given a funding request, the same funding request, so many dollars per capita. This year, coming up, I believe it's $11.70 per capita. And that's the same rate that Rocky View pays. That's the same rate that Chestermere pays. That's the same rate that Cochrane pays, and Bicycle. It all goes into a pot. We make something happen. We fundraise for our buses. This is another group of stakeholders. Some people have been so kind to donate an entire bus. Other people give us $500 a year faithfully over the last 10 years. Service clubs, lottery grants, some corporations. And some, we find money where we can. So if we can get the bus on the road and we can find the operating, then we can make something happen. Finally, the passengers. The passengers actually pay a fare. but they also are probably our biggest promoters, telling neighbors, telling other family who tell family, and we don't really have a high advertising profile, but word gets around, and people who need us find us. So as I said, we help people get to the supports and services they need to stay independent in their community as long as possible. And those may be across town, those may be in the next town, those may be in the town after that. We most of the specialist stuff is in Calgary, but Airdrie's got lab work, Airdrie's got oh yeah, X-ray diagnostic imaging. That was the word I was looking for. The some of the larger stores like Walmart have some of the things that are not available in Cochrane for that. Someone with older woman with a pelvic floor problem might be wanting certain supplies that are not available just down the street. We do shared ride in a different way than a lot of places. Calgary does a shared ride, Edmonton does a shared ride. We share not only the neighboring streets, we share the neighboring community, municipality. So these little stars, I did this actual route myself. I picked up someone in Cochrane with a wheelchair. I picked up someone in just outside of on a farmstead just outside of that new community of Harmony with a walker. I took one of them I stopped off at the Foothills Hospital. Then I went over to the Lougheed Hospital. Having gotten rid of those, dropped off those people, sorry. Chestermere's a hop, skip, and a jump away, and picked up someone there who's going to the Foothills. Lo and behold, my first passenger to the Foothills was ready to go home. Took her home with her wheelchair to the to Cochrane. Did 4 trips for 3 people from 3 different municipalities with 1 bus. That's an opportunity to share the ride when it works that we think is a strength for what we can do for the neighborhood. But it is a big neighborhood, really big. Takes a long time to get places. Takes a long time to set up those things. So there are peaks of high productivity and efficiency, and then there's larger spaces of just trying to get to someone's place back and forth. So we can provide a certain amount of trips a month for people with our current funding. And that helps them get to the appointments, the weekly drop-in program, get to basics like getting groceries or banking or a lawyer's office from time to time, or the dentist, etc. For some people, that means chemotherapy. For some people, that means physiotherapy. Some people means dialysis. It also means visiting a loved one, because it's not just about medical or urgent things. If you're not time critical and can go where we've got the lulls, well, we can make some more things happen. And saying goodbye to a close friend, well, saying goodbye to your neighbor down the street at a hospice can really change someone's outlook on living without being able to drive. And we're poorly suited for things such as every day at the same time. We make up the schedule every night. Access to the airport, oh, that's a really tricky one. People call us and say, oh yes, can you take us to the airport? We used to say yes. And they said, oh, my flight leaves at 5 a.m. We say, no. And then if their flight is delayed on the way in, we have no way of getting in touch with them to let them know that it's 6 o'clock. We finish at 4:30. You're on your own. So we tell people not the airport. We can't take people really outside. We have we've had a request in the Crossfield area about taking someone to Didsbury for a adult day program. Well, we got one person heading north, but 2 or 3, and okay, some of those are a little further south than Crossfield in the Rocky View area, but 3 to go south, but 1 to go north. But I got 1 bus. So we have to kind of pick and choose what we can, our wins. We have to try to to do the best with what we've got. So some highlights is we had last year was our busiest year ever after the pandemic, and this year was 1% busier. Every municipality that participates with us had a slump during the pandemic. Last year, Crossfield, Chestermere, Cochrane, they all were busier than they were. Well, they was busier than they were in 2019, our benchmark for recovery. This year, Rocky View County caught up with like a 40% increase. People are needing to go places again. More people are in town, but things are getting busier. We had a lot of staff turnover, which we don't normally have. Through the pandemic, yes, we laid off people, but all but 2 people came back. This year, we had a bunch of people with medical issues that were unintended, leading us to be shorthanded and needing to hire staff. But we actually hired and trained 4 people this year, which I'm actually surprised, because that's the most we've ever brought on in 1 year. And we've had 5 buses enter service. It took 2 years with Infrastructure Canada, but our plan to buy 1 bus got rolled over into a purchase of 5 buses, thanks to a 2080 deal with a program called the Rural Transit Funding Solutions. There are some other challenges, which is why we find it so remarkable that we had such strong numbers. The pandemic changed every organization. How we operated before the pandemic and how we have to operate now are 2 different things, and we're still trying to figure that out. But that's become, some people might know, the side of a desk kind of project, because the day-to-day stuff is about getting people to and from. Some municipalities had staff changes, and we haven't had a chance to meet people. And some people have come into their role with, how should I put this? They didn't know what we do. They just sort of took an idea of, oh, it's the handy bus. They only do this for these sometimes. And we haven't had a chance to explain. More people move into this neighborhood, and our passengers are so good at word of mouth that a lot of people move into the neighborhoods with really high expectations, like level of Calgary kind of service. And so we're having trouble managing our reputation, which is kind of a weird thing when it's so positive. We also have some communication issues. There's not enough of me to go talk to 6 municipalities and off the side of my desk, so that, as you know, you may know that Cochrane developed the COLT program within Cochrane, but Calgary Transit's working with Chestermere about a commuter program. And again, people haven't thought to say, oh, you should talk to so-and-so. So we're really noticing that we've got to spend more time sitting in meetings and circulating. And then the biggest one, which I'm sure your finance team is aware of, the cost of everything's gone up. Vehicles that cost $63,000 in 2016, the same type of vehicle, the same kind of modifications, $127,000 in 2023. And we're being advised $150,000 is the budget. That's getting a lot to fundraise. And as you're aware, living wage is rising. We are doing as best we can, but we're feeling a cost pressure on it. So despite the doom and gloom, we've got a couple of projects on the go that we're hoping to see some tangible results in 2025. One is our software, which is transit grade, used by big leagues and us. It's a 2010 software innovation. Well, just like people who had the BlackBerry and loved it, at some point they stopped producing it, and at some point later they stopped supporting it. So we've got to move to something else, and we found a simpler program from a Canadian company that's in like 42 small towns in, mostly in Canada, but a few in the Northeast United States. We've got to start up another capital program because the campaign, we need to get about $130,000 for the first bus, and Rural Transit Funding Solutions has reopened their invitation for applications. Cross your fingers. With these communities and all these people coming into the neighborhood, sorry, these communities developing transit and new people coming in, we got to take a look at eligibility. We kept things simple for so long by just saying, you know, we can only give you 10 round trips in a month. Well, it's amazing how many people need 10 round trips in a month. And we need to figure out, well, exactly why are we, who's going to fit in here? And in the towns that have alternatives, who should be taking the alternative? But that takes some resources because you got to have someone interview people, you have someone manage it, you have to have someone network. But we're hoping that that's something we can get a draft done by the end of the year. We'll be looking for stakeholders' suggestions. And in general, we have to update our strategic plans. Our last strategic plan was achieved in about 2015 when we were doing basically Bragg Creek to Bicycle and the other diagonal as well. And we were very pleased with ourselves. And then 17% growth, and then 17% growth the next year, and 17%, and then a pandemic. And now we're scratching our heads and starting to say, okay, which way are we supposed to be headed? These are, I like to think these are normal things, but these are things that we are considering and trying to work on. We got a little bit of a wish list in case anybody sees opportunity. You know, we want to find some funding to in 2 years and to expand our hours. Maybe we'll be able to catch the afternoon dialysis people coming back. There has been a fair amount of pressure and request for Saturday service, maybe just one bus. We're always looking for the right number of, you need opportunity of enough people to start the service, be on the service to make it possible rather than just sit and wait for something to happen. We're looking for better collaboration with our neighbors and such. We're looking for provincial support. Alberta is the only province, one of the few provinces, I guess, a better way of saying, that doesn't support public transit. It is something the province benefits enormously from, but municipalities pay it from the property tax. Some point we'd love to have a headquarters, but that may be a long time away. We got to improve our passenger relations. We need to be able to tell people about these changes that are going on because we're working at capacity with our on our shoestring team. Someday we're going to get our, well, actually, since I wrote this, we actually now have a part-time mechanic 3 mornings a week for a retired fellow with a license and screwdriver repair. And sometimes you have to state what you want and things show up on your lap. And I just want to point out that fundraising a bus for most places is a full-time gig. It's really difficult to fundraise $125,000 in a year while you're also responsible for a whole bunch of other things. Maybe that's more of a 10-year kind of dream, but these things are things that are, these are roles that are all being done by 3 people in an office. I'd like to take a moment to go and switch to our quarterly numbers, if I can make this happen. We'll get to the trips by purpose and how that compares. Crossfield had a record last year of 822 trips. There was a team of adventurers making efforts to visit people. A sizable number of those were to Airdrie, but some of those were also to dialysis in Calgary. Things have stabilized for Crossfield residents to something much more manageable. But even at 591, that is a sizable amount of trips to provide, and we're really pleased that we're able to do that. as I mentioned, Crossfield, Chestermere, and Cochrane all have experienced a bit of slightly smaller numbers. And this stuff changes in waves. You get someone needing dialysis transportation from Crossfield. Well, that's 20 trips a month, actually more like 23 trips a month on average, times 12 months. We're now looking at, my mental math is failing on me, but we're looking at over 200, 300 trips. That person, how should I put this politely, stops doing dialysis. They move away from here. Sometimes they pass away. That's a 200 or more difference in the number of trips for a small community. Then we just so these things go in waves, and you can't always expect a steady increase. Plus, the area over here starts having off to the east has more requests for transportation, and then the northern area, then the southern area. These things all go in waves. We take a stab, though, of trying to estimate how much it costs to provide transportation. We don't count just trips, we count the distance. So in the seat kilometers, so that you get an idea of how much you, not only how far have you had to drive people, but how many people you took. And with that, well, Crossfield's a modest 6% of our expenses, and I really hope this draft is correct, and I don't have to be proven wrong and embarrassed when I get the final draft to council in about 6 weeks. But it is it is because Crossfield's willing to share the ride with Rocky View County and Chestermere and Cochrane sometimes that we're able to keep the cost so low, as opposed to having a full-time bus operating out of Crossfield on a on-demand, ready-to-go kind of basis. Year in, year out, it does seem that Cochrane, Chestermere, and the county seem to be about 30 to 35%. They sometimes change places in the order, and then the rest of it is the smaller communities that are more distant. I'll just go to one thing on the second page of this.
Yeah, that's great, Paul. We'll let you do that, but if we could move it along because we're well over your 15
Oh, I'm
minutes.
sorry.
I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say, this is a benchmark of how transit agencies in Alberta that are members of the Canadian Urban Transit Association. And you can see, okay, yes, $10 per capita is a bit much, but it is appropriate for the amount of size that we are doing. So thank you, and I'm available for questions.
Awesome. Thanks, Paul, for your presentation. Questions for Paul? Deputy Mayor?
No questions, thank you.
Excellent. I don't have any questions, but I certainly appreciate your presentation and the time you took to put together and present to us. And thanks for doing such a great service for Crossfield. I know that our seniors and appreciate the assistance in getting to all their appointments.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Okay, item 4.2, can I get a motion, please?
Through the chair.
Councillor Lambert.
I'll move that the Rocky View Regional Handy Bus Society update be accepted as presented.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thanks, Paul.
Thank you, and I apologize for
That,
running over.
that's okay. Have a safe trip home.
Sometimes I have to give out tourniquets and sharp scissors so people can sever their arm.
Well, we opted not to have the big hook, so you're in luck.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a great night. Okay, item 5.1, we have a board committee for the library applicant, so Director Nash.
Evening, Council. The Town Office Administration has received a request from the Crestfield Library Board to add Susan Trafford as a library trustee for a 3-year term. And as outlined within the Municipal Library Board bylaw and as defined under the Libraries Act, council must review and ratify any appointments. So I'm asking council's approval to appoint Susan Trafford as a library board trustee for a 3-year term expiring December 1st, 2027.
Great, thank you. Susan, welcome. I see you have great experience with libraries, education with libraries and everything else and working on boards. So welcome. Is there anything you'd like to say to council or?
I would say I love this town. Only been here for 5 months, but it's been incredibly welcoming and peaceful, and so happy to be here. And I'm excited to learn more about the library and more about the town.
Well, welcome. We're happy to have you. Yeah. Any questions at all on the application? Wow, looks like it's going to be a go, but we'll wait for the vote. Can I get a motion?
Through the chair,
Councillor Gustafson, go ahead.
I'll move that council appoint Susan Trafford as the library board trustee for a 3-year term expiring December 1st, 2027.
All in favor? Aye. Motion carried. Looks like you can't move for at least 3 years. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, we have item 6.1, Crossfield District Recreation Board funding request. Deputy Mayor has asked to be excused, so I don't know if we can mute her or do something. Yeah, great. And then we can unmute her after the decision. Councillor Nash or Director Nash. See, you've been moved to council already. That's a conflict.
A little bit. Thank you, Mayor Harris. Good evening, council. As Mayor Harris mentioned, the Crossfield Rodeo Society submitted an application, actually resubmitted an application. The Recreation Board had some questions and that they wanted clarified from their their original application, so they came back with a new one. And the application was for $5,000 to the Recreation Board to assist with bleacher boards, gravel, ashtrays, and paint at the rodeo grounds. And the Recreation Board made a motion to grant the Rodeo Society the $5,000 to assist with those costs. So tonight, administration is here to recommend that council approve the Crossfield District Recreation Board's recommendation.
Excellent. Any questions for Director Nash?
Through the chair.
Yeah, go ahead, Councillor Gustafson.
The clarifications, I'm not sure if council's able to be aware of what the clarifications to be. I know we're voting on something. We don't really know what we're voting on. Why the clarification needed to come back, or?
So, and Mayor Harris may have to correct me here. I'm trying to dig back in the memory a little bit here, but there was some questions about the matching funds or the matching funds for them to match the capital projects they wanted to do, which is these items. And some clarifications. Oh no, as in addition to some additional quotes to ensure that the pricing was reasonable.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
there anything else I was?
No, those are the two things, and so we asked them to resubmit, and this is what they resubmitted, and all of it fell within the Recreation Board criteria, and so the board presented a motion and passed the motion, and now it's in council's hands. Any other questions for Director Nash? Any further discussion from council? Okay. If that's the case, then can I get a motion, please?
Through the chair.
Go ahead, Council Lambert.
I'll make the motion that council approve the Crossfield and District Recreation Board's recommendation to fund the Crossfield Rodeo Society in the amount of $5,000 to assist with costs related to bleacher boards, gravel, ashtrays, and paint.
Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. And we can bring Deputy Mayor Fox back on. Okay, we're on item 8.1. Sorry. Yes. Item 7, council reports. I've met with CEO Kinza the last 2 weeks for our meetings. I also had a mid-sized towns mayor's meeting this weekend in preparation for with our executive in preparation for our big meeting that's happening tomorrow with all the mid-sized towns. Deputy Mayor Fox.
I have nothing further to report.
Thank you. Councillor Brennan. Councillor Gustafson.
Nothing further to report.
Councillor Knight's not here. Councillor Lambert
Nothing to report.
and Councillor Bang.
Nothing to report.
Thank you. All right, can I get a motion? Go ahead. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Okay, now item 8.1. Administrative updates. Director Nash.
Thank you, Mayor Harris. As you'll notice, the update is slightly different than previous months' updates for administration. We have combined all of the updates into one document now for council. And I will be presenting a few of the highlights for you. You'll notice that it's organized into service areas versus departments. So anyway, I will go through to highlight some of the items on here, and if there's questions, myself, Director Altina, CFO Willette, and Director Nash are here to help answer questions for you. So under Public Works and Infrastructure, operations focused heavily on snow and ice control efforts in December. They removed approximately 875 loads of snow from 30.2 kilometers of roadways to our snow dump. The town is currently working with external firms on several studies related to the town's wastewater management to help inform our next steps. Upcoming here, we're going to have an RFP issued in Q1 for design and contract administration of the Lot Avenue wastewater line replacement, as well as an RFP for general engineering services. In planning and development, the town received in 2024 135 development permit applications, which included 83 applications for new homes, as well as 2 applications for new industrial buildings. Upcoming, the MDP is tentatively scheduled for first reading on February 4th, 2025. Administration also intends to bring minor land use bylaw recommendations to council in Q1 of 2025, with more significant amendments to follow later in the year that will align with the updated MDP. In public safety, in 2024, fire services responded to a total of 388 calls, which was down from 527 calls in 2023. Of note, medical calls were down to 160 calls from 268 in 2023. So in 2024, our medical calls accounted for 41% of total calls, while in 2023, they accounted for 51% of total calls. So we did see a decrease in 108 calls overall for for medical calls. Upcoming for the fire department, purchase of the engine 155 replacement has commenced. We've got that underway. Just working on the specifics, but we do expect that the new unit will be arriving in Q2 of 2025. Under customer service and community engagement, the front desk or the office responded to over 6,900 citizens' requests for service in 2024. 435 of those were in the month of December. Average monthly volume was about 575 requests for engagements per month. Primary topics of interest for 2024 included administration at 41%, payment or payment inquiries at 25%, and development at 12%. And you can see the graphs below in your information package. Upcoming, the eScribe implementation is anticipated to be completed by the end of Q1 2025 for council and all the reporting. In community services and events, if you haven't had your chance to poke your head into the main hall here at the community hall, the dance floor was refinished between Christmas and New Year's. Looks pretty good, so pretty happy with that. Administration is working with an interested party. Actually, I'm happy to report that actually we have signed an agreement with the people to open a concession at the arena for the remainder of the year.
Excellent.
So that will be opening up. They are hoping to be open for the middle of January here. And under administrative services, the 2025 municipal elections nomination package is now available. With nomination day being the deadline, being September 22nd of 2025 for the upcoming municipal election. Upcoming with that, finance will be engaging with the services of the GovDeals platform. It's an auctioning platform that will help us dispose of surplus assets that are no longer required by the town. So it's a fair, open process of selling municipal items.
Yeah.
So that will be coming up as well. So those are kind of the highlights from your report there. If there's any questions, we're happy to answer.
Great. Questions for Director Nash? Excellent. I like the format. I think it's perfect. It gives the highlights and that's what we need. Oh, don't make your head big. I know. All good. So really good format. Thank you for that. If there's no questions, we will bring up the outstanding. Oh, I guess that's it. Just the one report. So we're going to have a motion.
Through the chair,
Yeah, Councillor Lambert.
I'll make the motion that the administrative update be accepted as presented.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Item 8.2, CO Barney with the outstanding items list.
Thank you, Mayor Harris. So as part of the outstanding action list we have here, administration is requesting the removal of 3 items. Item 013 being the railway street decorative lighting component that was addressed at the last council meeting. Item 045, again, that's already been addressed, utility write-offs. And 044 being the letter of support for the Alberta Elks Association. All 3 items we deem as being complete and would request their removal from the list.
Excellent. Thank you. Any questions? If there's questions, can I get a motion?
Through the chair.
Councillor Gustafson, go ahead.
I'll move that the items on the outstanding action item list 013, 044, and 045 be removed from the list.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you. There's nothing under correspondence. And that brings us to adjournment.
Sure. I'll make the motion to adjourn.